let's talk a little weird wrestling and the fun side of wrestling, because that's what draws me into wrestling. That's always what has made me a fan of it. I love the bullshit of wrestling. I always call it
Yes.
that affectionately. My favorite wrestler is Goldust. That's what made me love everything about this world. What drew you in?
I think that with professional wrestling in general, like it is someone tweeted today. They tweeted today that like I love the in-ring of wrestling and I don't like anything else. I was like, okay, that's fine. But go do MMA, because professional wrestling is every bit of it. It is the
Yes.
spectacle. It is the character. It is the old timey sort of circus show, and it is built on juxtaposition, which is my favorite word. I think
Great word.
we should make the word smaller because there's no other word that ends in to
Juxted.
position.
Juxted.
Just jux. Like look at
Jux.
the jux of this match. And
Check out the
sometimes in
jux on
wrestling,
this guy.
yeah, like the jux is sickening here. Sometimes people forget that like juxtaposition is the king of wrestling.
Yeah.
If there's not a question of how these things are going to work together or how these opposite forces are going to react, then I don't think it's as interesting. And so when you have the full show, yes, you should have the hardcore drama and you should have the athleticism, you should have the gasping from these big spots. But in the middle of all of this, if every single thing was dead serious, if every single thing was hardcore, then you're not going to get those moments of up and down like the roller coaster. I think about, a wrestling show and a match, they're both a lot like a roller coaster. We've heard that. But I also think that the second time you're going up the pulley, the first time you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. You get through those first runs, you get through a couple loops. That second pulley, when you felt some of it, is just as necessary to the ride as the first pulley. And almost more importantly, so pacing things down, taking things a little less seriously for a minute. Does every show need to be goofy top to bottom? Possibly. But having that mix and being able to fill that role and kind of, I've started doing seminars, which feels bizarre to me, but reminding people that like filling your utility for the night is more important than being the star every night. Some nights my utility is, hey, we've got a 7-minute spot here that we need to ease the crowd out. We've got a really heavy segment coming up. Can you just do something easy, get it home? Cool. That's a great place for me. But sometimes it's, hey, we need to convey a little more emotion. We need to have a longer run. We need you to get a little more extreme. I want to find my place on the card to make sense and not ever feel like I'm just shoehorned to be there. Like we've got all these matches. Now Effy has to have a full match. It's going to be 20 minutes. He's going to take all the time in the world versus we got to see him. He filled that role. It was in between two heavy moments. We love it heavy, but we need a little levity. I want to fill in any of those roles.
Yeah.
And I historically have been the guy that you can go to on any show and go, can you add 15 or take off 10? I can fit any role there. And I think that having the spectacle, having the circus, it wouldn't be possible without that.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it's funny. I was watching a show the other day and yeah, it did sort of feel like everything was 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, where it's like, it's hard. It's hard to consume that. It's like overwhelming of like, oh my gosh, just give me sprinkle in a little bit of light for me. Like, let's just have a little fun for 5-7 minutes, get that spot in there, then, get back to some of that heavy lifting. But that really is always the stuff that I love. Like, even when I was in WWE, I'm like, wait, forget that wedding's coming up. Okay. Like, I love that shit.
Yes.
And I know that there's people that hate it, but I love that goofy stuff. I think it's really fun. And I feel like it's really fun for the performers to get to have those moments as well, instead of it always just being like bumps, bumps, bumps.
Right.
To like,
And
let's just like around a little bit.
It's also good for like moving these narratives forward. If the narrative was always being moved forward by just like, we fought and here was the result, now I want to fight you because of this, it's just not interesting to an audience. And when you have these little moments where you can pepper in like, yeah, he was too goofy in this match with him and now he wants revenge, or he made fun of him in this segment and made him look like a fool and dumped slime all over him, there's at least some kind of something to grip on to forward your character and have a reason for why they're there, versus like, well, I'm fighting because I'm a pro wrestler and I want to prove I'm the best pro wrestler. That's like interesting for like 2 weeks.
Yes.
And then like, give me a little meat on the ribs.
Yeah. Let's back it up a little bit. Yeah. I love the ridiculous shit. Shout out to Goldust. Oh,
I also like, I'm really fascinated with taking ridiculous stuff very seriously, because I always feel like in wrestling, there's always been those moments.
How important is that? Because if you don't take it seriously and make it that, it's going to fall so flat. You have to lean into it.
I think to a little story I did with a Midwest talent named Ace Perry, who's been on a few of my big gay brunches, where I beat him in a match and won his soul. I won possession of his soul. And it sort of
Didn't
fell by
like
the wayside
Milhouse
for
and
a
Bart do
while.
something like that at
Oh
one
yeah.
point?
Listen,
Yeah.
The Simpsons did it, and I'm going to do it again in the
Yeah.
wrestling ring.
Yeah.
But, I beat him with a roll up in this match that was pretty back and forth, a little silly, very effy. And all of a sudden the lights go out, druids come out. I start
Love a
speaking in tongues. I
druid.
take his soul. 2 years later, he says, I want the soul back. I said, I'll keep it protected. We do a very serious hardcore match at one of the big gay brunches in Tampa where, I mean, we're beating the crap out of each other. I think he hit me with a chair 10, 15
Oh my
times.
God.
And I end up winning barely. And I say that he's ready and he has his soul back. This whole thing is stupid and ridiculous. But when we both take it dead seriously and you can't really see through it, it's the same sort of contempt and passion and wrestling violence that you would see in any other match for a championship. But this is for a man's soul who he lost it and he thought he didn't need it. I took his soul because if you don't have a soul, you can get a lot further in this business. I'll hang on to it for you, kid. But when he got his soul back and found that, he became kind of a more complete.
It's
So
so
there's a
good.
seriousness in it, but there's so much stupid around it that you go, we're going to take this dead serious
Keep
and
the
we're going to see
stakes
how people
high.
play along.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that.